So I apply slug nematodes twice a year generally. So first time in early spring, once the ground temperature is consistently above 6 degrees centigrade, because I'll have a lot of stuff planted, particularly salads, spinach, things like that, things that are quite sensitive to slug damage in early spring. And now, because I'm just about to start planting all of my winter salads, my winter spinach, all winter carrots, all of those sorts of things. And again, they're really vital really to get those protected from slugs. But I've also got a lot of stuff in the ground. So I've got a lot of things like potatoes, Christmas potatoes. The tops are off those. I'm just storing them in the compost. I don't want slugs getting into that compost and damaging them. I've got my oca plants. Again, they're going to be left in the ground for a very long time. Again, slugs start to damage some of those. So I want to make sure that there's no slugs in those containers. All the containers in the polytunnel that I've currently got tomatoes and things like that in them, all of those will have overwintered carrots in them, which I sow in November. And so again, I don't want slugs in those, so I'll water those. All of the salad beds in the polytunnel will get watered. All of the pepper beds outside, actually, because they're going to be cleared progressively through October. And again, into those, lots of spinach, lots of lettuce. And of course my carrot beds, because they're going to have carrots in all the way through until early spring, and I don't want slug damage in there. So basically, all of those kind of high priority areas get a really good watering with nematodes. So I'll just talk a little bit about how I do it. First off, I've drilled holes in the rows on my watering can. I've got spare rows, I've drilled holes in that. That is really useful because the nematodes are quite sort of thick and jelly-like, and they just gunk up fine rows. So just drill a few holes like that, 3-5 millimeter holes, something like that. The water absolutely gushes out of those. I just did an experiment actually where I was watering celery with my normal fine rows, because I'm going to be clearing that celery and planting lettuces, and it was taking twice as long with the fine rows as it was taking with the rows with the holes drilled out. And so that's the kind of difference that you want to see. Also, it makes the job just a lot quicker. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I just have 2 watering cans. One's got the nematode mix in it, one hasn't, and I just put a little bit of the nematode solution. Generally I just count, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the amount I'll put in, and I just know from experience that's about the sort of right dilution rate. So I have the 2 cans. I'm using a dip tank, so it's really quick to do. I've got a stick, so I'm stirring up the watering can whenever I need, in between uses, to make sure that all the nematodes haven't settled down to the bottom of the can, so that's pretty important. And what else? Well, I'm using Nemesis slug nematode or something like that. I'll put the picture up. I do find it's helpful. It's not perfect by any means, but the thing is, what I find is that although I don't eliminate every single slug, I only have tiny ones. So I don't really ever get like really big slugs on the allotment, which is really useful because a big slug can wipe out a crop, but a tiny one is just an annoyance, and you generally see some slug damage long before you've lost the crop, which means that when I'm harvesting, I spot the damage, kill the slug, and get on. And that's the main time when I do my slug prevention. It's just when I'm harvesting, and since I'm harvesting most of my beds all of the time, I'm kind of always on the lookout for slug problems. So I don't really generally do much more than that, other than try to water infrequently so the ground is dry, and I kind of have like a strawy mulch on the ground most of the time. That's either spent mushroom compost, or at the moment it's strulch on some of the beds, because I can't get a hold of spent mushroom compost right now. And that particularly partially composted mushroom compost, which you can get sometimes if you ask the supplier for something that's not quite as well composted. It's very strawy, and the slugs don't seem to like that sort of strawy surface. Obviously I've got, well not obviously, but I've got wood chips down for my paths, the slugs go over wood chips no problem at all, but it just discourages them a little bit. I think if they've got a choice between going over something nice and green and luscious to eat, or going over wood chips, they'll choose the sort of luscious area. So my plot's kind of bordered by, you know, these wood chip paths, so just reduces the movement of slugs between beds. And then of course I've got raised beds, and that helps a little bit, because again the slugs have got to go all the way up the side of the raised bed and then all the way down again, and sometimes they just can't be bothered with doing that. If there's something, you know, more tasty nearby that they can go find a little bit easier. So all those things basically go together to mean that slugs, really generally speaking, are not a big issue for us. I suppose one of the other thing is that we don't generally heart up lettuces. What we do, the only time we tend to do that is if I've got spare lettuces, then I'll let them heart up to trap the slugs in them, and then I'll just get rid of them, compost them or whatever. And it's the same, that's one of the reasons why we don't generally do hearted cabbages on the allotment, because there's, again, so many slugs that get into the hearts of the cabbages. They're really difficult to clean up, and not many friends and family are that keen on getting cabbages, you know, that are full of slugs. So we tend to go for loose leaf cabbages most of the time. So that is basically it. You know, it's a useful job to do. I think the stuff's about £29 for 100 square metres. I use a little bit more probably than that dilution rate, so I probably do 70 square metres. I'm just being overly cautious, and I do it at a time like this when there's lots of rain, and I'm just really hoping in September that I see a weather forecast like this, you know, with all this rain day after day after day after day, because that not only means I've got loads of water on the allotment, because I'm capturing loads of water that I can use to keep those beds wet, but it also means that all the outdoor beds at least are being watered, because the nematodes really only work in a bed that's kept moist for a couple of weeks really. And normally I'm just watering anyway, so most beds are going to be moist, but it's just a lot easier when there's a lot of rain. It just means less effort for me. So I think that's pretty much it. Quick update. I do have another video, and I do have a section in my ebook all about dealing with slugs and other pests. It's not very comprehensive because I don't generally have a lot of problems, but it's there if you want to take a look at it. So look below for a link to that. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen, Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.